Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful day to be together. I'm Cindy Atlee, most often one of your worship leaders, but today it looks like I'm more the messenger. Service here is a delight for me, whatever shape it takes, and I'm happy to share in a different way this morning. So in today's sermon, I've asked you a question. Is it a beautiful or a broken world? And you already know the answer, right? Yes. Of course we know the world is filled with beauty and brokenness. Reverend John shared examples of that just this morning, babies being born and sorrows in the world. We might even say that they are our constant companions in existence, moving us and lifting us, infuriating us, saddening us, inviting us to respond. Who doesn't feel the awe-inducing majesty of a mountain, or the transcendent sounds of a choir in total sync, or the quiet comfort of a stranger's kindness? And who can't be moved by the suffering face of a hungry child, or the ruinous wreckage of a war-torn city, or the unbridled anguish of family separated by lawless power? There are an infinitesimal number of ways life dazzles and devastates us. We also know that beauty and brokenness don't always exist in isolation. There are entire art forms that exist to remind us of this, like kintsugi, the enchanting Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery with liquid gold. Kaleidoscopes combine broken bits of glass into mesmerizing patterns that we turn and see. Lyricists like Leonard Cohen serenade us with melancholic wisdom, with lines that tell us, there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in. Poetry and literature and philosophy have always twined beauty and brokenness together, and so does human experience. Most every story about human triumph we've ever heard shows the beautiful outcomes that emerge when people rise out of adversity and loss, individually or collectively. But none of this is what I really want to talk to you about this morning, much as I'd personally love to spend a whole hour listening to the bittersweet musings of Leonard Cohen. I'm not looking for our collective answer to this question. Instead, I want to know about your worldview, whether it points your attention first towards brokenness or beauty, and what that means for how you step into UU values and ideals. So it turns out that the tension of brokenness and beauty is one of these great polarities in human existence. Polarities are the kind of paradox that capture the interplay and interconnectedness of seemingly opposite forces. They often form around great existential questions that humans grapple with, or energies that weave in and out of our experience. The two sides of a polarity make a whole, but most of us lean towards one pole or another in our ways of being and doing and perceiving. Sometimes we're socially conditioned in a certain way. Sometimes we respond to an internal pull. And sometimes we get caught up in believing that only one side of a polarity holds the truth or offers the answers we need, and neglect or reject what's on the other side. Doing this can really get in the way of our development as whole human beings, though, and get in the way of our experiencing the interdependent nature of all things. So let's explore this by turning to the council of experts I've assembled on the matter. A 16th century Jewish mystic, an extraterrestrial with his own TV show, and an Episcopal priest who frequents the Burning Man festival. We'll start with the 16th century mystic and that story of Tikkun Olam. So Sarah has already shared a lovely version of that this morning, and I'm jealous that I didn't think to wear a sparkly skirt like she did. But this is actually based on an important creation tale in the Jewish faith tradition. The original story was credited to 16th century mystic and rabbi Isaac Luria, and it still provides inspiration today for the Jewish calling to repair a broken world through acts of social justice. Rabbi Luria believed that through the practice of tikkun olam, a fragmented world can be made whole, and humankind can participate in the procreation of it. The metaphor of gathering holy sparks to mend the world is a beautiful way to describe meaning and purpose in the universe. Rabbi Luria's story also included a charge from God for humans to find and celebrate goodness, not only to fix and assuage pain. Later versions of the story included personal transformation and spiritual growth as components of tikkun olam, adding to the idea that each individual soul has its own spark, its own divine mission, and is given a share of the world tied to its own destiny. I'm so very moved by this story. It lets me imagine the work of social justice and community building as gathering beauty, as putting holy sparks of light back together in sacred union. What could be better? Of course, I'm a person who's oriented towards the beauty of the world. I'm motivated by wonder and light and the symbolic idea that something shimmers through our universe that longs to be made whole. And feeling that I can be part of this, that a spark within me matters, that transforming the world is possible. Okay, maybe I'm easily swept away, but knowing that about myself helps me understand how I want to participate and can participate in making a difference. There's so very, very much in the world to take on right now. So much to mend, so much to change. It's a huge understatement to say that the overwhelm is real. The Tikkun Olam story suggests that finding our own metaphorical spark and letting it light our path going forward is how we can find greater peace within and give in truly authentic ways. So let's take a look at the most common characteristics of each worldview and see how that might be so. You might feel yourself being partially or a lot described in these slides. Just remembering, we usually have a strong tendency. Each has an amazing gift that we can all give. You might even notice that one feels a little more left brain oriented and the other one coming a bit more from the right brain. So, the world is broken perspective shapes the desire to save it. It's about knowing what you're against and wanting to see it taken down. It's about mission, seeing suffering and damage in the world and responding with a sense of urgency, valuing impact and solutions and actions that support the truth, operating at the foreground of what's going on to repair and restore. The deeply felt humanity here is a desire to provide comfort and respond to suffering. The gift is empathy and compassion and feeling with others, acknowledging dignity. The downside, and they do have downsides, can be a continuous sense that everything is on fire and the exhaustion and fear that might follow. There might be a failure to see the sense of agency and destiny that can be held even by those who've been hurt, a knowing what's best for everyone else. The world is beautiful perspective shapes a desire to transform it. It's about knowing what you're for and wanting to see that extended further. It's about vision, wishing to see everyone flourish and responding with ideas for building a better world, valuing possibility and inspiration and imaginative ways of being and doing, understanding the essence of things and what they mean and being awed by them, moving towards a more expansive horizon and evolving towards cultivation and growth. The deeply felt humanity here is about seeing value and worth in everyone and a desire to elevate it. The gift, appreciation and gratitude and an ability to really see others. The downside can be looking too far past current problems and letting denial take over. There may be a tendency towards a spiritual bypass, holding too tightly to belief that everything happens for a reason and will eventually course correct. So, should we all just focus on one side of a polarity? Not if we value what's on both sides of it, and not if we want to save and transform the world. Tikkun Olam asks us to repair and restore beauty, not just to a broken world, but specifically to a fragmented one. We need to be whole human beings to do that well. How else can we end the fragmentation and the resulting division, separation, and disconnection? When we allow more air into both sides of a polarity, we start feeling into the common ground across them and unveil the underlying tension that binds them into a polarity in the first place. I think fragility is the core agent here. It emerges from suffering and from tenderness and from awe. Feelings of fragility can set off denial, associated with the blind spot of beauty, and fear, associated with the pitfall of brokenness. Denial and fear are reactions the human psyche uses to shield us, each in their own way, from the vulnerability that many of us humans will do almost anything to outrun. Yet vulnerability is where we create trust and accept our true selves and build real intimacy with others. At its root, an inability to accept vulnerability has a lot to do with the trouble we're in right now. It drives what seems to have become unbearable insecurity in many of those who seek or steal power. Fear and denial can be shaped into the tools of manipulation and propaganda. A shared acceptance of our own vulnerability could do much to change the world. And there it lies, at the center of beauty and brokenness, no matter which side you come at it from. So how do we start resolving the tension? We center ourselves in the spaces between the poles, knowing that our gifts may lie on one side, but calling in and valuing what we can on the other, valuing it in other people as well. This is the space of integration which holds our capacity for individual transformation and societal change. It's a space of wholeness where fear and denial give way to vulnerability. Maybe it's the place where the human and the holy actually touch. How lucky are we to be part of a faith tradition that has the ultimate tool for centering? You know what it is? Love. The UU version of the UU value systems introduced last year through the association's Article 2 is still pretty new to us. Its focal point is not a word, but a phrase: love at the center. That's part of what makes it so brilliant for me. Just look at where it calls us, to a centered place where we can stay present to ourselves, present to our world in all its truth and tenderness, where we can open our arms and gather in the gifts of beauty and brokenness. And it's a much shorter reach from that point than starting at either of the sides. Here is where we can feel our way into the deepest kind of love, where we can empathize with suffering and also see not just the pain, but the true worth of those who are also burdened. It's the place where we can dissolve our sense of separateness from ourselves and each other and the entire living world. Love at the center is where we find what's most life-giving for us, and we most want to give back to life in return. It won't always be beautiful. It won't always be broken in that place, but it will be where we are most whole. Dr. Kevin Anderson writes that being fully human and alive is about playing all the high and low notes. not sustaining a constant state of exhilaration. Maybe those high and low notes intersect at the center of beauty and brokenness. In that center, we can best see the both and nature of life. There we can risk loving far more of what we see in front of us. And so for our next inspiration, I'll turn from the 16th century to Dr. Harry van der Spiegel, lead character in the sci-fi cable TV series Resident Alien, for a lesson in connectedness. Resident Alien started out looking like a kind of campy dramedy about extraterrestrials on a mission to destroy the Earth. Turns out it's really about what it means to be human. For some reason I completely forget now, Harry is the alien sent to wipe us all out. To accomplish this, he takes on an Earthling's persona and body, which gives him a little bit of access to human thought and emotion. In addition to plotting destruction, he spends a lot of time observing and scratching his head about what makes us tick. He also ends up befriending a quirky crew of small-town Colorado residents, people who sometimes seem defined by a vague sense of personal otherness and ennui. Over time, Harry's partial access to human feelings allow him to form some empathy for those around him. Most often, it's their brokenness and fragility he sees first. Well, hijinks, of course, ensue, and by season 4, Harry gets drained of all his alien powers by a competing set of intergalactic foes. Now fully human, he eventually stumbles into a Native American powwow with a human baby in tow. Don't even ask. And experiences an authentic traditional healing jingle dance. Harry has a transformative moment as he watches the dance while holding the baby, suddenly and wondrously realizing that he feels very different, like he's connected to everyone and everything around him. When he tells an elder at the dance about it, she says he is experiencing Manana, the great mystery that connects all things, and not just humans. It's how the river knows where to flow, she shares, how the trees know how to talk to each other underground, how the reservation dog magically appears every time you open a bag of chips. Later, Harry is visited by another town resident, one who's feeling lost and alone, who looks up at the sky, feeling only a sense of her own smallness and worthlessness. And Harry tells her that she is not small, that she is part of that sky she is looking up at, that he is too, that she is in him and he is in her, and if she was not here, the world would be incomplete because she and her spark would be missing. Suddenly, Harry realizes that he has grown a human soul. He feels with and for his friend, and he sees her. He's encountered the intersection of brokenness and beauty, and he's begun to integrate it. It's not really a leap to say that love is most centered when we can extend real empathy for what others have endured while also believing they have a unique spark within as well. From there, we would be most able to tell someone else that if you were not here, if you were not free and able to flourish, if you were left to suffer, the whole of existence would not work for the rest of us either. I really don't know if the world is more broken or more beautiful. It probably depends on the day. I do know that it's fully alive, woven together with both the fragile and the exquisite, with the melancholy and the magnificent, with awe-inducing grace, and more with anything, love at the center. This may not be entirely real yet, but I know that it's true. I also know now that this motivates me to do what Dr. Anne Lagerquist calls the work of wonder and repair. That work binds together and makes room for a loving impetus to repair and ease suffering, along with the cultivation and growth of new world building. You can do this work too. You can become very clear about what you're for and what you're against. You can embrace your vulnerability, get yourself centered, find yourself some awe. And here's a radical idea. What if you decided to bless everyone around you? This is where our Episcopal priest from Burning Man enters the story. The festival is based on a gifting economy, and this priest, Dan Baker, decided some years back that the greatest gift he could offer was a blessing, randomly presented to people he encountered each day. It starts with the lines, "The world now is too dangerous and too beautiful for anything but love," and continues with a series of wishes for the receiver. Each of them conveys a way to open a heart so wide that it can blaze with a love strong enough to change the world. You have to give up some things to authentically bless others like this. Things like anger and contempt, despair and disdain, fear and loathing. Remember that Tikkun Olam doesn't ask anyone to vilify even the perpetrators of the harm they are repairing. It also doesn't say we can't resist. We must resist, but we can try to bring the empowering energies that foster beauty and address brokenness with us when we do. Baker did that, and he found something interesting as he did. It turned out that people were most open to receive the blessing at sunrise. When the day itself was breaking, there was the greatest possibility to engage others in the momentum of love. Nature seems to know this, always reminding us of the cycles of life and their interconnectedness. As a new day breaks, the beauty of scattered sparks may seem to light up the horizon. Later, as the sun's light seeps into the night sky, we can feel the quiet miracles that might go unnoticed if we forget to look. I'll close with a related favorite passage from Matt Haig's novel, The Life Impossible. The two main characters are sitting on a dock at sunset, considering its glory. Then the novel's narrator shares this with us. "I looked at the red sky, and I felt its wonder so powerfully, like it was dangerous just to inhale because I might dissolve into the universe." Yes, I agreed, a miracle. I want you to understand these moments. They are all around us on this familiar alien planet of ours. In every raindrop and scattered particle of light, life sings and blazes. Even when we are numb to it, when we hide from it, when it is too loud and painful to experience, when we aren't equipped to feel it, it is there, waiting to be cherished and protected, ready to give us at least one more blast of beauty before the night. I almost thought my own heart would break the first time I read that. It called me to remember that the sun sets every night, not always with the blaze of glory described here, but always in rhythm with the cycles and spirit of life. When it's a showstopper, it's almost as if the planet is setting aside its grievances about how we've treated it, thrown its arms wide open and said, "This is how I will love you." How then can we not decide to love it, each other, and everything else in the world? How can we not say we will defend against whatever gets in the way of that love and show up for whatever would cultivate it? That we will do the work of wonder and repair. May it be so.